A white dragon horse was stuck in a marsh and couldn't move. A young man who was in charge of guarding the farmland noticed and wanted to pull him out of pond. However, he with all his strength but couldn't succeed because the ground was. Then he noticed a wheel behind him, so he tied the reins to it and finally pulled the white dragon horse up. Looking at the man who had saved him, the white dragon horse shed tears. He was originally a mythical beast living here and got trapped by a trap set by the farmer because he accidentally trampled on the wheat in the field. Ivan did not want to harm him, so he took off the noose from his neck. The white dragon horse suddenly emitted a dazzling light and disappeared into the dense fog. The next morning, Ivan woke up in the stable and saw two spirited horses tethered in front of him. Then a voice came from the corner. He walked over and found that it was a talking donkey. Ivan was frightened and raised his stick, but he was kicked unconscious by the donkey. When he woke up, the donkey spoke again and explained the purpose of its visit. The two blood-sweating horses were a gift from the white dragon horse to thank Ivan, and this talking donkey was the legendary all-powerful divine Mojave horse. With its guidance, Ivan could change his own destiny. Holding the two blood-sweating horses, Ivan couldn't help but feel overjoyed. At this moment, there came the voice of his father outside the door. He had discovered the damaged wheat field from last night. If caught in the act, Ivan would probably face a scolding. Seeing him in a dilemma, the divine donkey told Ivan to sit on its back. In the blink of an eye, the divine donkey ran 10 kilometers away. Such a magical skill amazed Ivan. Although he managed to avoid his father's scolding for now, he couldn't go back home anymore. Hearing this, the divine donkey whistled. In a stable 10 kilometers away, the sweat-blood steeds seemed to hear the call, and quickly came to Ivan's side. All that was left was to sell them for a good price, to compensate for the damaged farmland. Soon, they arrived at the bustling city. The two sweat-blood steeds immediately caught the attention of merchants. The king, who was observing from the castle, immediately took a liking to these two treasures. He led his entourage of ministers to the market. After some bargaining, they decided to purchase the steeds with gold. However, after the king ordered his men to lead the horses away, he left on the carriage without even looking back. His ministers, trailing behind, showed no intention of paying. Clearly, they were freeloaders. So, the divine donkey whistled again. And the king commanded the soldiers to chase after the horses. As a result, the uncontrolled carriage crashed into a bag of flour in front of all the subjects. The king embarrassed himself once more, but he couldn't punish the common people at will, nor could he keep the horses. If Ivan were to whistle again, the acquired steeds would escape. So, the king devised a wicked plan. He bestowed upon Ivan an official position of horse breeding, not only obtaining the horses for free, but also acquiring a horse caretaker. However, that night, the king had a nightmare. He dreamt that the horse caretaker named Ivan would seize his throne. Upon waking up in the morning, the king grew more and more fearful. He needed a way to get rid of Ivan, but he couldn't find a suitable excuse. At that moment, his minister proposed a wicked plan. The king could send Ivan to find the legendary phoenix, a mythical creature that doesn't exist. Ivan would continue searching, while the king could eliminate a major threat and preserve his reputation. Luckily, the divine donkey saw through this trap. Fortunately, the divine donkey actually knew the whereabouts of the phoenix. This is the legendary phoenix, a divine bird that lives in the desert. Its whole body is engulfed in flames, and it instantly activates its instinct when enemies approach. Wherever it goes, everything in its path turns into ashes. For mortals like Ivan, trying to capture it is akin to a moth flying into the flame. But the divine donkey knows the phoenix's weakness. On the way there, it had Ivan collect a bunch of sleep fruits and spread them along the phoenix's inevitable path. Before long, the phoenix discovered these delicacies. It emerged from the sand, shaking off the dirt from its body, and flew around the desert, seeing no enemies around. Finally, it started to eat with relief. With each bag of sleep fruits consumed, the flames on the phoenix's body weakened. Eventually, it collapsed onto the ground, closing its eyes. Seeing this, Ivan quickly reached into his pocket for a net. Suddenly, a claw rested on his shoulder. the Phoenix was too cunning. It had feigned being deceived, exposing the enemy's position. In the blink of an eye, its flames ignited brightly again. Ivan quickly turned and ran, but the Phoenix didn't want to let him go. As he saw the divine donkey holding it back, Ivan put on his gear, thinking of resisting with weapons. Wherever the Phoenix went, the coconut grove turned into a sea of fire. With no place to escape, Ivan and the donkey trembled on a tree trunk. Surprisingly, the Phoenix didn't attack, but instead focused on the last fruit in Ivan's hand. The oasis lake extinguished the flames on the Phoenix's body, and it was securely bound by the iron net. It lost its former grace completely. Just as Ivan was about to go back and report his success, he noticed a tear running down the Phoenix's face. After making eye contact with the donkey, Ivan softened his heart and released it from the net. The Phoenix regained its freedom. Before leaving, it left behind a dazzling golden feather with rainbow colors. Although Ivan returned empty-handed, he took out that golden feather to prove that he had truly captured the Phoenix. However, he didn't know that it was just an excuse for the king to execute him. Ivan was quickly taken to the execution grounds. Just as the guillotine was about to come down, the golden feather suddenly ignited, followed by the resounding cry of the Phoenix piercing through the sky. The Phoenix flew around the square and landed gracefully on the rooftop weather vane. The people witnessed the existence of the Phoenix firsthand, and the king could no longer proceed with Ivan's execution. However, he didn't give up. Soon, he issued a second order. The king was getting married, and the bride was the Snow Queen from the far north. He required Ivan to bring her back. Once again, Ivan set off, guided by the divine donkey. He climbed to the summit of the snow-capped mountain and found the palace of the Snow Queen. But the palace was completely frozen in millennium-old ice, and it would take a long time for a mortal to break through it. At that moment, the Phoenix's feather burned once again, easily melting the icy blockade, and the sleeping Snow Queen was awakened. However, when she learned that it was just a stable hand who saved her, she was instantly disappointed, and she jumped off the cliff without hesitation, motivated by the desire to save her. Ivan also jumped down. Luckily, the divine donkey sprouted wings and saved them just in time. Ivan brought the Snow Queen back safely, successfully completing the mission once again. The king was greatly disappointed, but he also became infatuated with the beauty of the Snow Queen. In response to his proposal, the Snow Queen made a request that the engagement gift must be a gem from the depths of the sea. Thus, the king naturally sent Ivan on another mission to the Eastern Sea.